if anyone's watching this on video, you'll see that I'm wearing my Ireland jersey. It's being released on Monday, and this is being recorded in the wake of Ireland's final group game against Nigeria, where obviously we finished with we finished 0-0, and that ended the Women's World Cup for us. Obviously, it's something that we spoke about and previewed a few weeks ago with David Kent. So I do kind of want to touch on one particular aspect that's become a talking point and weigh in on it, because I've followed this team. I've become quite invested. I've got to meet a lot of the players and Vera Pauw, the manager, as well, and kind of get really involved in the run up to this World Cup. So it's something that I feel quite strongly about, and I do want to share my own thoughts on it, because the discussion now has turned to Vera Pauw. She is very eager to sign a new contract with the FAI and continue the work that she's done. But the question that the media is asking, and that it seems by being so hesitant to actually get to new contract negotiations and actually to even give a comment, it seems that even the FAI is hesitant to kind of answer and maybe needs to be discussed. So let's weigh in on if we should renew Vera Pauw's contract. And again, I feel like the first off, credit where it's due, the spirit that she has created in the team with the raw materials that she was given has been second to none. She's taken those raw materials and turned them into a beloved team that the entire nation has taken into her heart. So that deserves a lot of credit. And she's also been a role model for them as they've kind of experienced the good and the bad of the extra fame that has kind of came with building that connection with the public, even in navigating her own controversies and news stories, even openly kind of discussing a rape that unfortunately happened to her within the sport, and also serving as a role model in shepherding people who've had similar bad experiences, the likes of Sinead Farrelly, back into the fold after her own revelations and complicated relationship with football. And the importance of that and of her on and off the field cannot be overstated. She has been immense, and she deserves every single bit of credit. There was one point before the World Cup where I said, is Vera Pauw the most beloved manager since Jack Charlton that Ireland has had? And I think she has a strong claim to that. The other side of that is that when you look at the next contract and you look at where we're going moving forward, you need to then take a step back and you need to look at what's next rather than what's already happened, where we're going, not where have we come from. And for an Irish manager, and again, I think this is just as true of the men as it is of the women's team, we need someone who's going to make the team greater than the sum of its parts. Not to realistically win World Cups, that's probably never going to happen, but capable of taking scalps, capable of maybe getting us to, I think the cap would probably be a quarterfinal. That would be an absolute dream circumstance, but it is something that is a realistic goal that we can set if we kind of outperform and if we get the most from our manager and they get the most from the team. For this team in particular, I think we also need to factor in the fact that we have a golden generation highlighted by Katie McCabe, a generational talent operating at the peak of the sport, the likes of which the men's team knows all too well, don't come around very often. I don't think we've had one of those players who's actually could claim that since maybe Damien Duff or Robbie Keane in 2002. You could even argue that maybe they didn't operate at the peak of the sport in the same way Katie has, and Roy Keane is the last person we've had. So again, you're again going back to 2002, over 20 years ago. That doesn't come around and we very often, and we need to capitalize on that. So with all that in mind, let's take a look at the cold hard facts of the situation. Is the quality there within the team to get those scalps and to overachieve? And to me, I think that's a definite yes. They've shown that. Look at the results we've gotten versus elite opposition like Sweden. We beat Australia, let's not forget, before, mixed with how we're able to kind of take care of business and get professional wins against the likes of Finland and Scotland to get to the World Cup to begin with. But do we do that when it counts most in tournaments? And I think this is where my fears come in based off what we've seen in the World Cup. And this is where I think it's a valid conversation, despite everything that Vera has done for us. I look at games like the likes of the France game, the Australia game, and the Canada game. And in all three, we outplayed all three teams in the first half. We could and arguably should have gotten results in every game, but we lost them all. In some cases, pretty badly. Like we were just out of the France and Canada games entirely by the end of them. And there's no shame in losing to these teams, but what concerns me is the way that we lost. And that comes down to two big concerns directly sitting at Pauw's door: tactics and resilience. Kira Caruso, for example, caused huge problems for all defenses early on in every single game before the defenses realized that that was their strategy. Essentially, she was operating off the last man, and then she was going to try running behind, and we were going to try get the ball to her. And once they kind of shut down on that, we just didn't have an attacking plan B beyond just giving the ball to Katie and also putting Louise Quinn up front, which felt like a desperation move of just sending a target player up, hoping that they just do something in the same way we used to throw on Noel Quinn or Tony Cascarino back in the days. And the resilience question for me is most concerning. The Canada game showed this the clearest, but in each game, once we had a setback, once we conceded the first goal in every single game, the heads went down and we were totally thrown off our game every single time. And again, without a tactical plan B, there was just nowhere we could go. Against Canada, it was most infuriating to not see players showing for a throw-in or being really careless and panicky in possession, or just not having composure to actually just get back to what we do. Okay, the goal happened, but like, look, let's just get on with it. And all of this kind of tells me that Pauw hasn't mentally or tactically prepared them for those scenarios that are highly likely when we're playing world-class teams like them. They're going to score on us, and we need to be able to, we're not going to have it our own way. We need to plan for the fact that we mightn't be the best team on the park, but still try and get a result and still try and bounce back if a team that is world-class goes out and gets a goal against us. If we are to beat them, these are the aspects that need to factor into the game plan. But it's become clear that we just don't know what to do beyond letting Katie put the team on her back. And again, that's one person versus 11 world-class players, and that's just not going to work. And for me, that's on Pauw. And unfortunately, we just didn't see any evidence that she can turn that around or even knows how throughout this. She's got her plan A, and if that doesn't work, it seems like we're basically screwed. And that makes it easy for teams we need to beat to get anywhere to plan against us, and makes us, unfortunately, at the core, fundamentally soft, which I don't believe this group of players are. I just think that if we're set up in that way and then we have setbacks, we don't have a plan B, any team is going to react the same way. Look, I'm not going to give a definitive opinion, although I know it probably seems to be leading one way. I won't be mad because I really like and admire Vera Pauw and respect her and respect what she's done. So I won't be mad if we do give her another tournament cycle off the back of what she's achieved so far. But also, I think if we're being really honest with ourselves, the right call is to say a huge thanks to her and to celebrate her achievements and everything she's done for Irish sport, but also being a bit ruthless in the way that like successful football teams are, and realizing it's a results business and looking into someone who can take us on to the next step of the team's journey, which unfortunately I feel after this tournament, I don't know if Vera Pauw is the person for that job.